Hi, this is Jill, your PA Mortgage lady. Welcome to another Saturday Strategy, and welcome to our third week in the series of the most frequently asked buyers question. So we've already talked about pre-approval. We've already talked about the different types of mortgages that are out there. And this week, by special request, I was asked to go into more detail about FHA loans. So an FHA loan is a loan that's backed by the Federal Housing Administration. The money still comes from the bank, but the government guarantees that loan, so that if a buyer would default on that loan somewhere down the road, the government has guaranteed to the bank that they would insure that loan and take that loan over. So it's a little less risky to the bank, meaning the criteria then is just a little bit more relaxed. With an FHA loan, the credit scores can be as low as 640. I do have some investors that'll go to 620 and below, but that's certainly on a case-by-case basis. There is mortgage insurance required with an FHA loan, just like there is on a conventional loan with less than 20% down. The mortgage insurance on an FHA loan, though, there's two different types. There's an upfront mortgage insurance, which gets added to the loan amount and then spread over the life of the loan. Then there's also a monthly mortgage insurance that gets paid until a buyer reaches that point of 20% equity. There's also certain criteria that an appraiser is going to look for when he goes out and looks at a house that he knows has an FHA loan on it. And some of that criteria is the roof has to have 3 to 5 years life expectancy. If a house was built prior to 1978, there can't be any peeling paint on that house because lead-based paint is a concern. The appraiser is also going to look for different safety issues. They're going to make sure the furnace is operational, the hot water tank. They're going to look at the wiring, make sure that that looks safe. Anything else that is maybe safety related, holes in the walls, damaged steps. The whole idea of that is to make sure that the house is livable. The day of closing, a buyer needs to have the ability to move in, and they also want to protect the buyer by making sure there's no major repairs that a buyer is faced with shortly after closing on a house. Now, in these situations, if there is repairs that need to be done, what happens typically is then the agents and the buyer and the seller get together and they go back to the negotiating table to get these issues resolved and see who's going to repair them prior to closing. And I have to tell you, I have never ever had a deal fall through because there were repairs required on the house. Usually both sides can come together and come to some sort of mutual agreement. Now keep in mind, if the appraiser needs to go back to the house to verify that the work has been done, there is an extra charge for this, and this charge is somewhat nominal. Some of the other things that are required on an FHA loan are only a 3.5% down payment. Now this is different than conventional type loans as it's less money out of pocket for the buyer. This 3.5% can also be a gift from a relative or an employer, and the seller can kick in 6% to help the buyer with the closing costs and the prepaids. Now this is pretty good, where a buyer can get into a home with virtually no money out of their own pocket. In today's economy, it's a great thing. We have a lot of buyers that can afford the monthly payment, but they're just a little cash shy these days. Another FHA program, which is really a nice program, is called a 203K. What a 203K program is it's a rehab loan. So a buyer goes into a house that needs a ton of work, whether it be things like the roof needs to be redone, the furnace is very old, or there's some structural issues that have to be addressed. It could be anything as big as that, or a buyer could just go into a house and love the house but hate the kitchen or hate the bathroom. That's where a 203K loan comes in handy. A buyer can actually borrow the money for those renovations and roll them into that mortgage. So I hope this was helpful. Please give me a call if you know anybody that's looking for an FHA mortgage, or if you have a listing that needs some renovations, we can talk about maybe promoting that listing as a 203K. Please remember to share this video with your friends, families, and coworkers. Visit my website, pamortgagelady.com. You have a great week. Bye-bye.